And welcome back to another episode of Financially Forever After, a love and money podcast. We are your hosts, Lindsay and
Brett Schunkweiler,
here to give you love, relationship terms that Brett has no idea what they mean. Maybe some of you also don't know what they mean. I know I didn't until I Googled some of these.
It's true. Yeah.
If you're in the dating world, or maybe you're in a relationship and some of these terms might apply to you, that's what we're here for. We're also here to give you what, babe?
Financial tips. I forgot to say, Brett, the money maker. I got to do that.
You got a money maker.
Yeah, I think that's going to be my new
You
thing.
should have it be like the people's money maker. Like you're making them money.
Obviously.
So
Who
you're
else
not
would it
just,
be?
because sometimes if you refer to money maker, they're like, oh, he's making the money. No. Where he's making you the money.
Absolutely.
He's helping you save.
Let's do this.
Setting you up for 2025 and
Beyond, retirement, all that good jazz.
to infinity and beyond.
Oh, gosh. All right, Buzz. Or is that Woody?
That one's Buzz.
That's Buzz, yeah.
He's the light year. So we're just going to we're going to talk today about some of the celebrity relationships that have died in 2024.
Like they've died, or like the relationship?
The relationship died.
Oh, okay.
In 2025. So I know you don't know this because you are not in with the pop culture.
I might not even know these
recent announcement
celebrities.
of two celebrities that are divorcing after 16 years of marriage, and it made me pretty sad because this is a couple I'm rooting for that I thought it would be that would be end game, but no, 16 years of marriage, announced they're divorcing. No idea. Don't look at my notes and sheet.
Oh no, I wouldn't. 16 years of marriage.
Mm-hmm.
That's about
how long we've been married.
Don't even know.
Yeah, you do.
That they're married.
You know who this celebrity is. You may have had a crush on this celebrity.
Kate Beckinsale?
No, she's not married that I know of, or divorced her.
Jessica Alba.
There you go.
Jessica Alba?
Jessica Alba.
I didn't even know she was married.
And Cash Warren, 16 years of marriage.
No idea who that is.
3 children. And what do you think they're getting divorced after? What was the announcement as to why? They
Money.
have a...
Is it money?
No.
I don't know. One of them was like Mike Tyson, like the exotic animal. And the other one didn't.
No,
I don't know.
Not that one either. It seems to be the case in a lot of these relationships that can get stagnant after so long. But they mentioned that they struggled to keep the spark alive 16 years of marriage. So not quite hitting that 20 marker. But it made me think like other celebrities that have been married a long time, and, you know, some of the announcements of 2024. Leah Remini, you know, from... that movie with Kevin, he was a comedian. He's always in Adam Sandler movies. They were a married couple.
Hart?
No, they were a married couple, New Yorkers. He was like a UPS driver. I can't remember the name of the show.
Oh, I know what you're
She
talking
was also
about.
in Saved by the Bell way back when.
Yeah, I know.
You know who I'm talking about. Anyway, her and her husband, Angelo, 20 plus years, they called it quits in 2024. Tori Spelling and Dean McDermott. Tori Spelling's from 90210, the original OG. 18 years of marriage. This was another sad one. Sacha Baron Cohen and Isla Fisher.
No idea.
Yes, you do.
Oh, Isla Fisher. She was in Wedding Crashers.
Yes, she's in Wedding Crashers. Now You See Me.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been married 14 years of marriage. AJ McLean from Backstreet Boys and his wife Rochelle.
Is it all because of the spark for all these people, or what's the deal?
No, that not specifically mentioned, but a lot of them had led to believe that, so that they're still because some of these people still have kids at home, they're still co-parenting, but the marriage portion of it just wasn't working anymore. But what was really interesting, this didn't happen this year. I think this was in 2023, but Hugh Jackman, 27 years. Arnold Schwarzenegger, I didn't know they got divorced with Maria Shriver, 25 years. And Meryl Streep and her husband, Don, 39 years. So it got me thinking, like,
39 years
that's
and you
a
get
long
divorced.
time.
Wow.
Your kids have been out of the house, so it's not a case of empty nest syndrome anymore. Like, what leads these couples to want to get divorced after all these years? So a lot of the reasons listed, just growing apart as you age, your beliefs might change, your goals in life might change. sometimes your character, just what you initially fell in love with, it might have changed a little bit. Maybe you're hardened after
I just
2020.
I think of you and me, when we started, I was a pushover. you in essence, you wanted something. I'm like, all right, that's fine. Or let's go here. Let's do this. And then we got married and I'm like, okay. Not as much of a pushover
I always
anymore.
joke like if we got divorced that I could claim fraud because you were different than when I initially married.
Like, whoa. You don't just give in at everything anymore.
I have
know.
a very strong personality. People think that even though I'm from the Midwest, a couple of people have said, you have a very East Coast personality.
I could see that. Yeah.
I'm short. I'm only 5'2", so I feel like
you claim to be 5'2".
No, I got measured yesterday for my life insurance.
Did you have heels
test.
on or
Nope.
something?
Nope, 5'2" on the tape measure.
Thick socks?
Nope.
Yeah, okay.
5'2". She marked 5'2". I'm like, oh yes. Yes, I'm back to 5'2". So
poofy hair?
No, I mean I had just woken up. I hadn't even curled my hair yet.
Okay,
so.
all right.
So yeah, growing apart. We talked about this in a previous episode of the empty nest syndrome.
Yeah.
Kids a lot of times link you in a partnership. They connect you. You have things to talk about.
Maybe like last episode, they weren't cuffing enough.
There you go. Cuddling.
Yeah, cuddling.
Poor communication, financial issues. We've talked about that before.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the high reasons for divorce. Unresolved conflict. So 30 years of marriage. Let's say you held on to something that happened when you were first married and we talked about this before. It's stewing, and then it just bursts.
Yeah, just
get
it out.
That you don't
let
get off the
people know.
table. It can lead to those unresolved conflicts. So, goals for the future, lack of effort, and just plain nurturing your relationship. So, those are definitely things that can lead to a demise in a relationship that has been long term.
So, what should we do?
What should we do? I'm glad you asked, babe. So, according to byviewtherapy.com, they recommend these ways to help keep your spark alive. So we've talked about this before. Number one being date night. And this should be a weekly date night. So if you can't afford to go out, that's fine. Let's say you have a porch date night where you and your spouse or partner are just going out on the porch and sitting and talking and watching the cars go by. Whatever it is, it doesn't have to be expensive.
Summertime. It can't be wintertime.
Right. If you're in the Midwest right now in the summer, you definitely don't want to be or you could have a sledding date. You could.
I mean, if there's snow, just because it's cold doesn't mean there's snow.
You can brew some hot chocolate and sit and
on the kitchen
table and chat. But so yeah, definitely date night is crucial, especially when you have kids, because I feel like a lot of times your lives do revolve around the kids. A lot of the time you're going to and from for the kids.
I mean, heck, I just think every day I'm like, all right, where do I got to go, hon?
Exactly.
Who do you need me to pick up?
Yep.
Where do I go at what point in time?
So, and then making it known with your kids too. It's like, hey, we need this because we are partners. We're best friends. We want to continue to keep this relationship strong. So making your kids understand like mom and dad need to have a date night and they need to respect that. Number two is to communicate effectively. We've talked about communication being crucial in the past, but not letting things fester. So that could have led to your unresolved conflict. So if you're not communicating and you're just like, well, I'll just let it breeze over, but it's still bothering you, that could be a big issue. So you really need to communicate your feelings. I know I'm guilty of, I wish he would just do this, but if I'm not communicating that to you, like you're not a mind reader.
Yeah, and then you're mad. You're like, oh, why didn't he do this in your brain or your mind? I'm like, okay, I didn't know it was a problem or even know this. This is something that need to get addressed. And here she is getting all frustrated about it.
Yeah.
And it could be in reverse too. I could have something that I'm like, why does she never do this for me?
And if I don't know.
If I never let it be known, or you might say, well, I'm never going to do that. Or, well, here's the reason why. Or, oh, I could try to do that every, once in a while. But yeah, you got to communicate.
Like dreams that I've had that I was like, you did this in my dream. And I woke up like mad at you. And I was just like, I can't talk to you. And you're like, have no idea. Cause you're like, I don't know what I did to you, but like, you're angry. And I was like, oh, you were so horrible in this dream. And it's like nothing you even did.
Yeah. I had one 2 nights ago.
About me?
Yeah. I was like, why would you do that? It doesn't even make any sense.
You're traveling 2 nights ago.
I know.
So I wasn't even there.
Yeah.
So even though you're mad at me, I'm like, I wasn't there. So
well, I was just, and I woke up and I'm like, okay, well, yeah, that was obviously a dream. So whatever.
Dreams are not reality, people. Number 3, prioritize self-care. So I think I do a pretty good job about this. I think you need to do a better job of this.
Oh, thanks.
No,
Way to point that
it's for
out.
your mental health though, because like I will go out and I'll get my hair done and colored. I will go get a massage every couple months because I'm feeling tight. I guess you do see the chiropractor that helps you. That's a little bit of self-care, but I'm always
And it's therapy.
It
'cause
is therapy.
My brother, aka chiropractor, so he's who I see every week, and
Yeah, and you guys gotta chat.
yeah,
which
we
is good.
chat, and that's
true.
It's
And I
good
guess you
therapy
do
for
basketball
us
once
as well.
a week, so you are getting better
Yeah, I
at it.
get
There
out.
was a time where I was like, you need to do more for
Just
yourself.
remember the episode I came in. I had a black eye from getting elbowed.
Yeah, that black eye from.
You
See,
guys
so
can
maybe
watch
you
past
need less
episodes on
self-care.
YouTube, and
You have too much self-care. It's
hold
causing
on here.
harm.
You need to do more of it. Now I have too much.
It was a
This is what I'm working with people.
yeah. So, but that brings up a good point because you want a healthy balance. You don't want one of the partners getting all this self-care, like, well, I need this for myself, and then the other partner getting shafted because they never have any opportunity to go out with friends or have time for
That's
themselves. So you need to
very
make sure it's
true.
pretty equal because there can be resentment there too if you have poker night twice a week and your spouse is like, I never get to go out, I have to be home, or I don't have plans, and that can lead to resentment. So it's important that that's equal. Number 4, know your love language. That's big, people. We've talked about this in previous episodes, but love languages, if you don't know them, easy to Google, figure out what they are, but it's pretty easy even without taking the test.
Didn't you read a book about it or something like that?
Yeah, I read the book. There is a book about it, but also, just a quiz you can take if you don't know your love language. But just reading the different types of love languages, it's pretty easy to figure out who you are and possibly your partner.
But I think you need to probably take that one step further, right? Like you need to know who you are, who your partner is, but then have a conversation and communicate that. Like, hey,
follow-up.
here's the things that I really appreciate about you. Here's things that I'd love if you did, or we could work on together, and then kind of create a game plan.
Because I know, and sometimes it's hard because one of your love languages is touch, and I am like anti-touch. So like, okay, sometimes you have to meet in the middle there because if you're not a toucher and your spouse is, but that's how they feed on their love language, you got to make sure you're accommodating to your spouse as well. So there's a little give and take on both sides. I think I do pretty good with touch with you unless I'm like overstimulated, but I'm not a big hugger in general. Yeah. Especially when they were little, when they were toddlers and you would get home and I'm like, do not
mommy,
come near me.
I'm like, hello, I'm right
1,000
here.
times a day,
Like, I'm a
mommy.
person too.
Yes.
Like, you can ask me for something.
Yeah, you could be in the room and they'd be like, mommy.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
gosh.
what? And I was like cooking dinner and you're like sitting, hanging out with them. They're like, mommy. So yeah.
And I'm like, leave your mom alone.
Yeah. Number 5 is permission to experience heightened intimacy. Take a gander what you think that is.
Heightened intimacy.
Heightened intimacy.
I'm guessing like foreplay.
You would go right to that.
Well, what else would it be?
No. So it's just taking your intimacy to the next level. So it doesn't have to pertain to sex, but it's like when we're having communication, intimacy, we're intimate when we're looking into each other's eyes because, obviously during sex that's important too, but like the eyes are the windows to your soul. So I know where you're going to go with this one. What's your line, babe?
Oh, well, it's from House Bunny. It's not my line.
You have so many movie
She
quotes.
says, the eyes are the nipples of the face. I actually said that to somebody like last week or the week before.
I hope it wasn't a client.
No, it was not a
good.
client. They just laughed.
Oh
They
my
just
gosh.
laughed because there's something about their eyes. And I'm like, well, I've been told that the
Yeah. So there you go with that. Also, so I wanted to break down the intimacy. So there are a couple different types of intimacy. So physical, obviously, that's clearly sex, but it doesn't have to be sex. It can be holding hands. It can be, rubbing each other's back. It could be massage. It could be, so many things go along with the physical portion of it. Emotional intimacy. So romantic attraction blooms when people take turns really sharing their deep emotions with each other. So if you're, laying it all on the line for me and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel this deep connection with you because you're willing to go deep with me and you're listening when I'm sharing that information with you. So emotional intimacy.
Well, I think of that too, that, for instance, it can be, the touch part can be important when, you have a loss of a loved
Yeah.
one. You unfortunately just had your uncle pass
Yeah.
away here recently. It was a great man, and I had my mom pass away a few years ago, and it's just there's no really right words that you can say. There's no words that'll bring them back, but you can just kind of give them a hug, be there,
Yeah.
let them know that you're there, you're present, you're in the room, and that is fantastic because no
Absolutely.
words can, but just
Sometimes
holding their
just a
hand
hug
or give them a hug
yeah,
or just
a
hold them
back
for a
rub.
while. Like, yep.
Obviously, you want to respect boundaries, so if people aren't like, if you're a stranger to the
Oh
person
yeah,
or not
yeah.
very,
I'm talking like, boyfriend, girlfriend,
yeah, or
spouse, or something
or
of that
a
nature.
good friend. But yeah, make
Yep.
sure that maybe you say, "Is this okay? Like, am I okay to rub your arm or whatever?" But yeah, physical touch is important to human emotions. Intellectual intimacy. So that's when your opinions and your beliefs are exchanged. So your beliefs on how the world works, or maybe your faith, or whatever it may be, intellectually speaking, it's not just surface level. You're speaking about things that, I mean, you talk about finance stuff. I don't always care about that stuff, but it's important to you. And sometimes
You're learning more and more, though, as we do
more.
this.
I will say, like, that's why I wanted to start this podcast, is because I used to think financial stuff was so boring, and being able to break this stuff down into terms, I'm like, oh, I can understand that. I understand why we're doing that now. That makes so much more sense.
Well, I was just in North Carolina here for a few days learning some business tax tips and things of that nature. And the dad is the owner of the business, and he has multiple kids that all work in the business. Well, the daughter, which is now his right-hand gal, she's 28, 29 years old, and she has multiple series tests passed and things of that nature. Well, she was like a cheerleader / she had zero interest, good at school, like zero interest in the financial world. She's like, Dad, I ain't ever gonna be there.
Sounds
And
like
now,
our daughter.
Here she, yeah. So I was thinking of our daughter, our middle child, and you never know where you're ultimately gonna end up.
Yeah,
at.
so true.
So like you say that, hey, I don't want anything to do with the money stuff. It kind of bores me, and I think you're learning a little bit more, and it kind of interests you a little bit more. So you never know.
I mean, I won't be advising clients anytime
No,
soon.
no.
Nor would I want people.
But as you never know. You're like, I'm not interested in that. But
That's
if
true.
that's someone else's passion, they tell you a little bit more. Like, you might get a little bit more interested.
So you might get down with the romantic fae novels that I'm reading.
No, I ain't doing that.
Darn it.
No, I don't got time for that.
I mean, I wouldn't think it's very intellectual. I don't really use my brain when I'm reading those books.
Is that the fairy ones? Oh my gosh,
they're not
these
fairies, they're fae.
fairies
And dragons. There's dragons.
Whatever.
We can go on and on. But anyway, couple more here. Spiritual, we talked about. It doesn't necessarily
you have to call
be
up Hooper and talk to him about it.
Yeah. It doesn't necessarily have to be faith as far as religious goes. Spiritual can apply to other things as well. So it doesn't necessarily, but I know for us, our Christianity is important. We like to go to church together. We, pray together. So maybe that's not your thing. It works for us as a couple. And I feel more connected to you when we are praying together, or.
So yeah, just find that, find what fits for you guys.
Yeah, exactly. So those are just some intimacy levels that, just taking it deeper, and so that hopefully you're not a Jessica Alba and Cash Warren down the road if you're married, or if you're just getting started in your relationship. Marriage is work, people. You have to complete. I kind of think of it as a little plant that you start, and it's just this little seedling, and you gotta trim it, and you gotta water it, and you gotta keep it like happy.
It's a love fern. You can't let the love fern die.
You can't let it die. So. And it's important, especially, we're not on 20 years, but we're getting close. And there's things we're constantly having to do to work on or grow on, that if we want to see this last a lifetime, we got to put in the work.
Yeah.
So you got to keep that spark alive, and just remember what made you initially fall in love with each other in the first place, and grow on that. So there are some information and tips for you. Actually, no, I forgot. Before we go on, we forgot our tip of the day.
Oh, what do we got?
I think you might get this today. The tip, or the term, is fizzling. What do you think fizzling means?
Fizzling, a couple things. One, it could be like, hey, I have a soft drink and it's fizzling.
Okay, this is relationship.
The second
term.
one would be like, hey, just kind of like how all these people lost their spark. Your relationship is fizzling. It's it's not going anywhere. You don't have that spark. You don't have something to look forward to
Mm-hmm.
with each other.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of
Right.
simmering down.
Just stagnant. Yeah.
Yep.
That's actually right. So gradual decline in interactions and interest in a relationship. So that could be in a marriage, that could be in a partnership if you're dating, whatever it is. So fizzling, if you want to see it work long term, you got to cultivate that relationship and water that little love fern. So there you go.
Okay.
Term of the day. What do you have for me for finance?
All right. Well, as we usually do here on Financially Forever After, you obviously talk relationship stuff first, then we're going into the financial piece second. So on this financial piece, I found a gal, and her name was Alyssa Berman. And this article is from last year in September. And what she did is she went to a store and she spent $600 on a coat and gloves that she couldn't afford and was kind of a total waste of her money. As she looks back at it, she's like, gosh, I am just having all these frivolous expenses or frivolous purchases, and I got to do something about it.
Okay, hold up though. $600 for a coat?
Yeah, where's
is
she
it
going?
made out of mink? Like, what is this coat?
I don't know.
What
What is mink anyway? Is that like
it's
an animal?
Yeah, PETA, not PETA approved.
I don't know what that is.
But they're more
I've heard of
expensive
it,
because
but I
they're
have
animal
no idea.
fur.
what
But
that
like,
is.
I can't imagine a $600 coat. Like, what is this coat?
She's like, this is my breaking point, she said. So she knew she had an unhealthy relationship in regards to shopping. So what she did is she found, apparently there was a popular social media experiment that encourages people to buy less stuff. So what she did is she calls it the no buy challenge. And you have to develop your own rules, and you have to say, all right, well, what am I going to buy, or what am I permitted to buy? What is my yes list? And what is my no list? So her no list, she had some issues with fashion and clothes and beauty products, perfume, jewelry, bathing suits, or whatnot. So she said, I'm going to have a 1-year sabbatical in regards to buying any of those particular items. Now, just because she says no to that doesn't mean that she can't have a yes list, right? So it's on her yes list, it was encouraging hobbies that she likes that enriched her life, such as getting fresh flowers, museum tickets, Pilates classes, budget travel. So it's not like, hey, I'm not spending any money at all. And obviously you got to have the essentials, the groceries and the gas and the things of that nature. But she set up a timeline. And you could say, hey, I'm going to do this for a month. I'm going to do it for a quarter, a year, or whatnot. And she created this and she did it. And there's some very good things that actually came from it. But her challenge was, she said that she didn't want to buy a single new dress that year. She didn't want to buy any of the things that I just listed. So some of the tips that she said, if you want to do something similar, was to unfollow any social media accounts that persuade her from spending money.
That's a good one. I have a lot,
shake
but
your
I
head.
should probably.
I knew that this would strike a tone
They
with
get
you.
ya.
Yeah, because then I get home, I'm like, oh, what's this new box, honey? Oh, what do we have
This
here?
influencer told me to buy
This is,
it.
and we talked earlier. I was like, all right, stop buying me polos. I have a million polos. I have like 5 black polos. I don't need another one. Guess what?
Yeah.
It's a new black polo today.
Dude, you're welcome.
I
That's so
took-
nice on you.
I just cut off the tags before.
you are
this show.
you are a minimalist when it comes to clothing.
Well, what's the opposite of minimalist? Because that's what you.
I mean, I wouldn't say, we have friends that they will go out and buy thousands and thousands of dollars on suits and things.
Yeah.
I mean, I am nowhere near.
That is true, but
nowhere near. I'm like, where would I wear that? I live in middle of the United States, Nebraska.
and there's some of our friends that are like, hey, I gotta have this fancy purse, or if every time I go somewhere, I'm gonna get another new one. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my goodness sakes.
yeah.
And I told you, I'm like, hon, love ya.
And everybody,
Whether you spend
experience is different though, but like that might be bringing you joy. So in her case, it makes sense where maybe you're like, okay, I'm spending too much. I know I love these things, but I need maybe a
Yeah.
detox from it.
And I told you, I was like, hey, I can't tell the difference from a $20 purse
No,
to
you couldn't.
a $2,000
Yeah.
purse. But Everybody's different in regards to what strikes your fancy, but that would be a way. So unfollow some social media accounts that would persuade you from spending money. Unsubscribe from email lists for your favorite brands, because I know I'll get, underneath the promotions under Gmail or whatnot, you get, hey, guess what? Here's the new promotion going on. Here's the new thing going on that you could purchase something off of. So that's another way. Follow mindful consumption influencers in groups. So in essence, she followed a group that was doing something similar or a similar type of challenge. She's like, hey, guess what? If they can do it, I can do it. It's kind of like the workout mentality, right? Like hey, I'm going to meet you at the gym at 6:00 in the morning and we'll work out together. Okay. If you have somebody like they're counting on you.
Right.
Whereas you
accountability and keeps tabs on each other.
If you're going to do it yourself, you might not have the same accountability.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty like, I'm too tired, or I got to do this for work or whatnot. And you get the same way. A lot of people get the same way.
Do you ever, I just made me think of this for accountability purposes. Do you get, because I know your clients meet with you a couple times throughout the year or maybe once a year, but that they feel like kind of like shame because they're like, they're shamed by you because it's like, oh, Brett told me to do this and I didn't listen. Like, I feel like, here's my statements.
So I had one last week tell me, and they're just like, they're like, you don't make me feel bad, but I feel bad for doing it. And I told them, like, you shouldn't feel bad. But they call it like, anytime I need money, I feel bad for getting it out. And I go, I flat out tell you, I want you to enjoy your life. I want you to, my mom passed away at 60. She didn't get to enjoy retirement time. I want you to enjoy it not only when you're, 35, but when you're 45, 55, 75. Like, you should enjoy it all along the way, not just like, I'm going to save, get to retirement time. Then I can go enjoy it, but then something bad happens to you.
Sometimes people don't make it to retirement.
You don't, you don't make it, or you hear people, like my mom's situation, pass away while you're still working. There's young kids that, you never know when your day's going to be.
Right.
So I want you to enjoy it along the way. Another one was block websites where you tend to impulse shop.
I'd have to block all of Amazon. I can't do that. It's not possible.
I was gone for a few days. And I noticed I came back. I'm like, hey, we have some new things.
What?
Well, I noticed we had new pans for sure.
Well, that's a necessity. We needed.
We do. There are some necessities, but there's a lot of times that there's not, like new that are not necessities that we need.
You can't go around naked.
I will not go. I have plenty of clothes. I don't need 5 black polos though. So those are some things that can help you change some of the habits. One of the things that this gal that did the challenge did is she found out that, she liked to buy. She's like, all right, well, maybe I don't need this new $8 Shein dress or something else of that nature. But she found out from looking into it that based on the Center for Sustainable Fashion that, it says at the University of Arts in London, that a lot of times some of these clothes, they're made based on using oil-based fabrics like polyester that do not biodegrade. In the factories that there's a lot of these factories pollute, and they often drastically underpay or mistreat workers. So
I know
you're actually supporting, by getting some of these things online, supporting, unintentionally, obviously,
right.
The mistreatment of workers and underpaying these people that are working at these factories.
Child workers too in a lot of these countries. They're children that are working.
Yeah,
in these
which
factories.
is just a terrible thing. So it says, as a result of the systems, humans are consuming more than ever, and the consequences are real. Says Barbara, the person that did this. There's a giant pile of discarded clothes in Chile's, I'm going to say this wrong, Atacama Desert, that is so large that it can be seen from space.
Oh my gosh.
And the beaches of Gahana have been overtaken with discarded clothes that have washed up on shore. So there's so much. They're like, oh, this is cheap. We'll sell what we can sell at, additional prices, but we're just going to have all this kind of, I don't say slave labor in essence.
Yeah, well, it's labor trafficking, basically.
Yeah, so what a bad thing. So in doing some of these things, you might actually be helping out by taking this no-buy challenge. So
yeah.
Linz, what do you think? Is this something that we didn't have any New Year's resolutions at all because we didn't want to break them?
Didn't.
But
I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea looking at saying, you know what, we don't. every January I go through the house and I'm like, I'm going to become a minimalist. I'm going through all of this and getting rid of it. So yeah, I know you give me that look because then I'll buy to replace what I
Yes.
took out.
It's just, oh, well, I got rid of all this. Now I have this extra space.
Yes. But if I'm going to do this new challenge, maybe I won't.
Yes. And this will be a 50-year challenge.
Yes. So there you go. There's some good, obvious challenge or changes you can make for the new year.
Yeah,
as far
and
as
you know,
overspending.
to finish up on this, what happened, what she really experienced, and what she found out for her is that her mental health actually improved substantially.
Yeah,
She saved thousands and thousands of dollars and was able to pay down some debt.
that's pretty miraculous, actually. And we talked last episode about subscriptions to things like that. That it doesn't seem like a lot up front, but it's like over time that stuff can add up. So if you're really going through all your spending and things that you're wasting money on, your subscriptions, all these things you're buying on Amazon, yeah, I'm sure you could go on a nice trip for your savings of going through this. But it made me think of a few years ago. Remember, it was Marie Kondo, I think is what it was her. Does this bring you joy? If it brings you joy, you get to keep it. If it doesn't, you get rid of it. And it was like all about minimalism. And,
Yeah.
It brings up a good point because I think about when you die, people don't want your stuff. You don't want your
No.
crap. And so it's important to you, but you really have to think like down the road, like eventually I won't be here. My kids don't want my knick-knack crap. So you're just accumulating crap, so to speak. So yeah, the things that really bring you joy, obviously hang on to that stuff. But other than that, it's just stuff.
It's just stuff.
And it's stuff your children are going to have to sort through. If you don't have children, someone from, I mentioned my uncle just passed away. They are hiring a cleaning crew to just come in and trash everything, like whatever they didn't end up keeping. So
Because people have their own stuff, right? I mean, I remember, after, I don't know if we were married at the time or a long time I was out of the house. My mom's like, here's all your stuff from your room.
Yeah.
Like
From your
it's
childhood.
becoming someone else's room or I'm
Yeah.
doing something else with it. And I'm like, all right. She gave me 6 boxes.
Yeah.
She's just like, all right, here it is. Like,
Oh
just
my
gave
gosh,
it
I
to
can't
me,
believe
brought
she
it up.
kept that much.
And I went through it and I kept like maybe 1/3 of one
Yeah.
box that maybe I'll show the kids at some point in time. But then after that, I'm like, I have my own kids.
Right.
And they have their own stuff. And what are you going to keep? But you're like, all right, what can we get rid of? Just think of all the stuff that we have in this storage room. Like there's like, Brett's stuff from when he was little, Lindsay's stuff
Yeah.
like we don't ever go look at
Stuff
that.
when our kids were little.
Or like
yeah.
even when you call it like former pictures, like we never
Yeah.
set them out. That's not
Memories.
important. Like, all right,
Yeah.
maybe scan them and put them on
Yeah,
something that
that's
we'll
not
look
a
at
bad
some point. in time.
idea.
And I always think like, before I die, I'm going to look at all these past pictures. But then you experience it and you walk through it and you see other people. And I don't see people doing that. Now, maybe
Well, that's
some
not
people
necessarily
do.
true because my grandma passed away and I enjoyed looking at her childhood pictures because those are pictures I had never seen before. So having some of that from her childhood, it kind of connects you with that person.
I can agree on that, but I'm talking, my mom had 40
yeah,
different
so
40
many,
different picture albums.
condensing
And
it
it's like, all
down.
right, it would have taken me, 20 hours to go through
Yeah.
all of that and actually look to see each particular picture.
Yeah.
And you're like, we looked through some of it, but
Right.
not all of it. Like, there's a lot of stuff that you
Yeah.
don't need. And you think that
Stuff,
it'll
it's
make
all
you
just stuff.
happy by
Yeah.
buying these additional items. But, there's one thing that, I don't know if I read it or somebody told me, but it was good advice that helped them save quite a bit of money. And the parents gave them advice like, you want to be somewhere in life, like, and not all of them, but like, you don't have to buy those $3 purchases. So like, hey, at the gas station, like, oh, I need a Slurpee, or I need a candy bar, or it's just one coffee, because those all add up. Now, granted, like I said, you could have like my Friday coffee,
Yeah.
or like I'm looking forward to this Sunday. Like, and if you do it every day, you don't look forward to it.
Right.
But if it's like, hey, I've been good all week doing this,
Yeah.
this, and this. This is
Like a
my treat for
reward.
doing it. For me, a lot of times, like, I eat pretty dang good all week long. And on the weekend, I'm like, I'm going to have a cheat day.
Yeah.
Maybe 2. But a lot of times 1.
Or around the Christmas holiday season, it might be a whole week. I don't know.
But, you do your best you can.
Yeah.
One day at a time.
Well, it applies to not only goals for the new year, but also relationship too. Because we talked about a lot of financial issues lead to divorce. So it's like when you're doing these things proactively and thinking about we don't need all of this stuff, or maybe we cut back on such and such. It'll make your relationship better down in the long run too.
And I'd love to hear, some of you listeners, like no bite challenge. If you're like, hey, I didn't set a New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
I am going to do one. Well,
Yeah.
we'd love to see what it is
Yeah.
on some of our social media stuff and kind of follow up with us. Like, all right, say, hey, I did it for a month, or I did it for 3 months or a year. Here's where I'm tracking. And,
Yeah.
oh, Brad, I saved some money. What should I do with it? And then we can talk about, where we could potentially
Invest
put that money and
smartly.
save for retirement or
Yeah.
use along the way or whatnot.
It's a great idea.
What are some of those social sites, Linz?
Those social sites? You can follow us on Instagram, on Facebook. We have a YouTube channel and our website, which is, do you remember this week?
I do remember this. Financially For. Don't forget the for. Financially For, not FOR, the number. Financiallyforeverafter.com. And what
Look
else?
forward to those questions, and hopefully we can get some answered on future
Yeah,
episodes.
like and subscribe online. Please.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Financially Forever After, a Love and Money podcast.